Hey guys, welcome back. Dirk here from Chesty Trains. Today with a new video. Thanks everybody for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Today I want to talk about UIC coaches, or the models of the different types of manufacturers and the different types of coaches that have been made. And the different type of scale. So we stay with HO scale because that's what I model. And but there's different scales within the HO scale, and that pertains to the lengths of the coaches. Let's have a look at a few of them. I put some out here, and we'll just have a look how these guys evolved. And what different manufacturers did over the years, and so forth. So let's get into it. So very early on, manufacturers made coaches, UIC coaches, passenger coaches of the standard design from the 1950s. The Deutsche Bundesbahn introduced them after the war. They just needed more modern coaches, more capacity within the coaches, and even thinking of a little bit more comfort. But essentially all it came down to was more passengers per train make more money. And of course the models followed shortly after. This one being a Fleischmann model. It's still made in West Germany. Made in West Germany. I don't know if this can be seen in the camera. I'm trying. I think so. And there's a Fleischmann logo. So this one even has interior lighting built in. I think it was done after the fact. This coach still has metal buffers on each end. We can see here there's little nuts holding the buffers on, plus they rusted. Very good detail. Like even all the little printing on the bottom here, you can read it. You can read the printing by the window here, right, where the coach is from, how long it is, and all that kind of stuff. You can read all the information on the bottom here. And I mean, this coach is easily from the late 60s, early 70s, I would say. And this coach is so short that it's not even considered 1 to 100 scale. So this coach is shorter than the 1 to 100 scale. Just because in the beginning, obviously, after the war, during the first, when model trains became more of a thing to have again and a toy for rather more every household, not just the Markland one in the privileged kids' houses, like before the war. No, this started to be like, it's plastic, right? Metal wheels, but plastic insulated metal wheels, ran on DC, obviously, and has a typical Fleischmann hook coupler on here. I don't know if we can see this here. And these ones were for the, let's call it, broad masses. They were a little bit more affordable. The Markland coaches at the time were even shorter than this. They're the metal coaches. They're not 1 to 100 scale. They're something like 1 to 122 scale or something like that. Fleischmann too took an effort to try to duplicate all the windows. So they just made the windows more of a square rather than a rectangle. To fit all the windows, they tried to do relatively prototypical printing on there. All the detail, it says where the train comes from, how much max speed it can go and stuff. So they really tried also on the end of the coaches. They tried to have the folding doors between the corridors. So yeah, very well done. Very well done. Early coach. Then along came somebody named Lima and Ade, and he created a company called Röwa, and hi Odie. excuse me, and Röwa started building these coaches, and these coaches are now true 1:100 scale. And these coaches also feature an interior that is actually starting to look like a real train inside. These coaches have windows in the end of the doors. These coaches have a little bit more detailed bogies with extra parts added on after the fact that were casted. The printing got a lot more prototypical, smaller, finer. The window frames are more to scale. And when the company Röwa came to market with these trains, they were a hit. Like they couldn't produce fast enough. They couldn't produce enough of these train cars to keep the shelves stocked. Röwa then started making these train cars for other companies too. We all know the red and white, or you might know the red and white intercity coaches, the Rheingold coaches from Roco in the 1:100 scale, the very early version, in the orange boxes, cardboard boxes. They were made by Röwa. Tricks at the time, Gebrüder Tricks or Brothers Tricks from Nuremberg, got train cars made by Röwa in order to compete on the market. And so Röwa, Lilly and Ade's company became a real good manufacturer. They had really good forms. They had really good train cars, being it the passenger cars, these UIC cars, or even the freight cars. And also another thing that this company developed was the short coupling mechanism on the train cars, because Mr. Ade wanted his coaches to run like the prototype buffer to buffer, so he created this short coupling mechanism for his train cars here. And this one is a little bit sticky, of course, because this train car is a little bit older, plus I'm holding it upside down. So anyways, this way this train car could run buffer to buffer. Also, what he created was a coupling pocket where you can interchange these couplings from different manufacturers. So you could run a Marklin coupling, you could run a hook and loop coupler from Roco, from Röwa, you could run a hook coupler from Fleischmann, you name it, right? So this was Röwa at the time. Company Röwa then went out of business. They basically, the two partners in the company, the one partner wanted out, the other partner couldn't take it over by himself. So then Röwa went on the chopping block. Mr. Ade kept patents like a short coupling mechanism in the beginning. He kept other utility patents that he had on these train cars, I guess, that he constructed, and went by on his own and started another company. But basically, he's the father of the 1:100 scale. The forms for the train cars went to partially to Tricks, partially to Roco. I think some freight car forms went to Lilyput at the time. But then, interesting enough, Mr. Ade started a new company and called it just by his last name, Ade. After he set the standard for the 1:100 scale cars, he came out with a train car, a UIC coach, the standard length coach that's actually true 1:87, and they were available as these pre-built models, pre-built in the factory, or they came in kits like this, which was basically a model kit, and you opened it up and you had a printed description here of what goes where. You had to assemble everything. You had the whole page just for the bogies. You had the interior. You had the windows, how the windows go into the frame, and how everything else goes together in this coach, and how to all do it. Several pages long, so that you could assemble your coach at home yourself. Every coach standard came with interior lighting. The pickup of the power was from the points of the axles in the bogies. Was a wire fed to the inside. A very nice system, which then it has a light bar that gets mounted in the top over the compartment, which actually just lets the light out where the compartments are, so that it looks more prototypical. And these coaches obviously were A, very, very expensive, B, so highly detailed that everybody wanted one. The other thing was that the interior featured details like, and I don't know if it can be seen, the baggage nets over top the seating area in the compartments. It featured open windows, like windows that were partially open. It featured printing on here that was never seen before as detailed. These coaches, you can put the prizer figures in, and you don't have to cut the legs off, because these coaches offer enough legroom because the interior is so prototypical, and they are just amazing. They are just amazing. Of course, these coaches were price-wise, very, very expensive. And with the amount of detail and stuff in there, they did well. They sold well. Like, people wanted these coaches, but the problem was, I think, the manufacturing in Germany was just too expensive. And so Mr. Ade went broke after a while. Today, these coaches are still being sold used. You can still find unassembled kits on eBay, on classified websites. Some collectors turn them in at bigger train shops in the States, in Canada, wherever, and try to sell them off, or collections get sold off, estates, you name it, right? So these are very very highly detailed coaches, and were obviously a little bit ahead of their time for the manufacturing capacity. So then, seeing the success of this, one of the first companies really that went after this market and said, hey, you know what, we got to be able to deliver something like this. People want these long coaches. People want to have their trains look prototypical. Was the company Lilyput from Austria. Sorry, it's always reflecting. Lilyput from Austria came out with these simplified versions of the UIC coaches, and they featured things like very detailed exteriors, very well printed detail on the side, but a simplified interior. Definitely much more simpler than on the Ade one. It's all one color all throughout, and the doors and stuff are not as detailed on the inside, obviously. Simplified bottom, so there's no micmac, no detail there, but they kind of came up with a little bit of a short coupling mechanism without having to do the cam inside and still have the coupling rod, like the coupling mechanism attached to the bogie. For manufacturing reasons, obviously this was way easier to manufacture, way cheaper to manufacture. So these coaches in full scale lengths were, I mean, they weren't cheap by no means, but they were able to produce these and make money at it, and also sell them, because you could buy 1.5 or sometimes 2 of these coaches for what one Ade coach would cost. So people really said, like, do I really need the interior lighting? I can put my own in, I can touch up the interior a little bit with paint. So this would be Lilyput back then, coming after that market. Seeing this, obviously, other companies said, hey, we can do this too. And so came a manufacturer, and you've all probably seen these coaches. These ones were one of the first Roco coaches, or this was pretty much the first series of Roco coaches that were full scaling. Intercity coaches, rated for 200 kilometers an hour, fully closed on the bottom here. And they had this box or cover on the box that said Roco exclusive 1 to 87. So Roco again, seeing the opportunity and seizing it and coming out with a coach for the Intercity. At that time, the TE colors in the cream and red, very highly detailed printing on here, very good detailed bogies. By this time now, Roco had mastered the short coupling mechanism as well. The coupling pocket was already standardized to NEM. They had these couplings already on the 1 to 100 coaches as well. But Roco basically said, hey, you know what, this is a market that Lilyput is in, this is a market that Ade is in, we can get into this too. And they started to make these full scale length coaches, which were super detailed. And even the underbody was a little bit more detailed than on the Lilyput ones. So again, this one became like an in-between Lilyput and Ade at the time. Plus Lilyput then disappeared shortly after, was bought out or basically went bankrupt too, and bought out at one point from the Bachmann Group in order to get all their forms and all their things. Another player in the market which became relatively underrated for its coaches was the company Lima from Italy. Lima from Italy makes fantastic, or used to make, I mean now it's running under Röwa, and they make them again, but they make them in China. This is still a Lima Italy coach, full scale lengths 1 to 87, 303 millimeters. Excuse me. And same thing, short coupling mechanism, very plain undercarriage. Bogies are okay, from the side they quite plastic, quite good detail. They had a couple of extra parts to attach to there. They put a whole bag of parts for the undercarriage in the box. You even have to add the red taillights yourself, opening the coach and putting them in on both ends. And I haven't done on this one, I don't think yet. No, but also very well done on the windows, very well done on the interior. The interior is just a single color, but it's almost as detailed as you see in the Roco coach. And with a little bit of paint and a little bit of, and a few prizers or figurines in there, a few people in there, passengers traveling the train, these train cars actually look really good on your layout. Again, with a short coupling mechanism, everything, they run tight together like Roco. They can run with Roco train cars. They can run with Ade train cars. They just run fantastic on a layout. And there was Lima. Lima then disappeared. Like, Lima made a lot of these cars, and they are very good models. Like, if you want a less expensive version of the 1962 Rheingold, which this is, This is one of the compartment coaches. They make the dome coach. They were actually the first company to make the Rheingold in the 1962 and then the later version in the red and white in the full-scale lengths. They were the first ones who had the dome car in the full-scale lengths. They were the first ones who had the Hunt restaurant in the full-scale lengths. Lima was an awesome manufacturer and lots of times very underrated. So, and then Fleischmann, of course, didn't want to miss out and thought, we want to have long train cars too, like the other manufacturers. Now, I don't have a Fleischmann UIC coach, but I have a IC2 coach, which the IC2 uses the standard lengths of 26.4 meters as well. But Fleischmann also had a lot of people out there using their track system and using their turnouts and using their lanterns on the turnouts and using the Fleischmann catenary made for the Fleischmann track with the spacing to the track. So the problem became in the tight corners and over switches, the 1-87 coaches would hit the lanterns on the switches. The 1-87 coaches would get hung up on the catenary with the body on the catenary post. So Fleischmann said we cannot put out a product that potentially doesn't work on our own layouts. Just like Marklin always did and still does pretty much up to this date. They will shorten locomotives if they just don't think that they will function on their track, or if they think they look better in relation to the coaches if they make the locomotive a little bit short. But anyway, so Fleischmann went by and basically tried out how long these coaches can be in order to work on all their existing layouts that people had built by the standard of their track. And they came to a length scale of 1-93.5. And from there on, Fleischmann coaches were always just a little bit shorter than the 1-87 coaches. But, trying to line them up here the best I can, but a little bit longer than the 1-100 coaches. So Fleischmann did was that a little bit of a gamble, because at the same time now their coaches didn't have a match in the industry. Like when you had a train with these, you had to have all Fleischmann, otherwise it would look goofy because one would be longer or two would be longer. Or at the same time the other way around, when people had Roco coaches in the full scale lengths, they didn't want to have Fleischmann coaches in this train because it would look a little bit goofy. And the other thing was, then people looked at it and they said, well, I don't want to run 1-100 coaches with 1-87 coaches. Like, this is now a real noticeable difference. I mean, real noticeable. And therefore, there's kind of like different groups of modelers and different groups of enthusiasts in the HO scale. Some people say I have to have the full scale lengths. That would be, for example, me. I like the full scale lengths and I want the full scale lengths. Other people say, hey, if I buy the 1-100 coaches, which still Roco offers, Pico offers, Marklin and Trix are switching over now all their coaches to the 1-93.5. We have a dog snoring. Odie is tired. But when you have the 1-100 scale, you don't want to add other coaches, because people say, well, I'd rather have 6 of these in the train station with the locomotive than only 5 or 4 of these in the train station. When this goes through a radius 2 curve, it hangs over quite a bit more than this one. So there's obviously different opinions and people like different stuff. But in the end, There is a lot of different coach lengths out there, and whichever you prefer doesn't really matter. Next to, Roco being full scale lengths, and you might have heard of LS models. They make fantastic models. They're even more detailed than the Roco ones. Excuse me. There's companies like Harris from Germany. There used to be a company called Alpha Trains, the real top models. There has been a lot of companies that came and went again. LS models being probably one of the most successful niche market manufacturers, like, that have grown bigger. But even now, Marklin just did a cooperation with Pico on the Metropolitan train, and now the Metropolitan train from Marklin has the same coach lengths as the Metropolitan train from Pico, and as it is a corporation and they wanted to save money on the forms, and now you have the first coaches on the Marklin, or in the Marklin lineup, that are 1/87, like true 1/87 scale. So those coaches are going to be 303 millimeters long. And now, of course, comes the question, like, do I buy it or do I not buy it? Will it clear my catenary? Will it work on my tight turnouts? Like, Marklin has one of the smallest radius turnouts, just due to them matching their ancient metal track. So I mean, there's plus and minuses to modeling full scale lengths or modeling 1/100 scale length. It's really up to the individual, and if you want, I mean, and that's what's so great about this hobby. You can run whatever you want. If you want to run these UIC coaches in 1/100, 1/93, and 1/87 all in one train, do it. It's your hobby. It's your layout. It's your little world. And so yeah. So anyways, I just wanted to show this, and if you guys enjoyed it, like the video, maybe subscribe for future videos if you want to see more content like this. And again, thank you all for watching, because we gotta go to bed. The dogs are snoring away here, those two. They are Odie. Okay, when I knock on the floor, he slows down a bit. He's a terrible snorer. So yeah, if you like and subscribe if you want to. Thanks for watching, and see you all next time for the next video. Maybe another short. I'm going to be building some more of my layout, and maybe I make like a video instead of one of those shaky shorts in the garage. But I just want to share how the progress is going, and yeah. So everybody have a good Sunday, and see you soon. Bye.